And joining me now to discuss all of this is Ron Kampeas, former DC Bureau Chief at the JTA. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Ron, with today's highly anticipated meeting between Netanyahu and Trump, there are reports that Trump plans to watch the full October 7th documentary detailing the horrors and the atrocities of that day before their conversation. Perhaps he's already seen it by now. This will certainly set the tone for the meeting, won't it?
I think so. I think that Trump has been connected to the hostages since almost immediately after the October 7th events. He asked to be in touch with one of the hostage families, the one that spoke at the Republican convention. So he's very aware of he's already very aware of the horrors of the day, and the documentary, the screening of the documentary, might help even further shape his outlook.
Now, what do you expect to come out of today's meeting in Washington? What key topics do you think will dominate the discussions?
I think, first of all, the release of the hostages. I think that's key for Netanyahu. He needs to show that he needs to show the Israeli public that he's pursuing that. There was a survey today that showed that most Israelis feel that, or a substantial majority of Israelis feel that Trump was instrumental in getting the current ceasefire to go into place and getting the hostages released that have been released so far, and the whole 33 that are promised to be released, and in thinking that Trump will have to pressure Netanyahu to keep this process going. So the question is, what happens in the next phase? Netanyahu is facing pressure from within his government, as Steve pointed out, to not give in to a full end of the war, but I think he'll be facing pressure from Trump to create the conditions that will allow the release of all the hostages, not just the 33 that we're supposed to see released in this stage.
So we know that there will be other topics of discussion as well, aside from the hostages. Israeli media suggests, though, that Netanyahu will focus on normalization with Saudi Arabia and addressing the Iranian issue, rather than pushing for the second stage of the deal to release the remaining hostages. Do you foresee this to be the case, and what do you make of his set of priorities in this meeting?
I think everything's interrelated. It's interlocked. You can't create discrete silos of release the hostages, smash Hamas after the second phase is over, and make a Saudi deal. I think and Trump might tell him this, that a Saudi deal, it would be very difficult without an end to this particular conflict and a path to a Palestinian state. That's distinguished from Palestinian state. What the Saudis are reportedly looking for is a path to a Palestinian state. And whether Netanyahu feels that he can walk that line between his government and popular Israeli opinion that's opposed to anything resembling a Palestinian state at this particular point, and the Saudi demand that there has to be a path to a Palestinian state, we'll see. That's the thing. And it's the whole dynamic of Bibi's visit is interesting, because on the one hand, he's the first foreign leader to meet with the newly re-elected president, Donald Trump, and as he points out, that's a big honor. That's a big first. On the other hand, what I found interesting is that Netanyahu really, in meetings with Biden and meetings with others, he's always gotten his way as to the timing of the meeting, which is usually coincident with the 8 p.m. newscast here in Israel. In other words, having the meeting at like 1 p.m. so you can get the pictures on the news. Trump isn't having that. He's having the meeting at 4 p.m. and it's a typical Trumpian show of strength. Like, I get to determine when the meeting happens, not you. So that might be an indication as to how the dynamics of the meeting play out.
Now, with Trump now back in power and eager to act, how likely, in your opinion, is it that normalization with Saudi Arabia can actually be achieved in the near future? We've been here before, but what steps do you think are necessary for this to actually become a reality now?
I think that that if it's going to become a reality, there has to be some sort of consideration of an outcome for the Palestinians that would be conceivably acceptable to the Palestinians. I don't think that I know that there are people who are saying that you can count out the Palestinians for now, especially because of the brutality of the October 7th attacks and Hamas revealing itself for what it is. But in the Arab world, for the Saudis, You can say that the Saudis believe in this cynically, or you can say that they actually believe in this. There really is an investment in some kind of stable outcome for the Palestinians, and an expression of Palestinian nationhood. And that's the way it's been for more than a century in the Arab world. So I don't see that being wiped off the slate right now. And I don't know how Netanyahu navigates that requirement. I think that's going to come with the demands of his government that there be absolutely no consideration of Palestinian statehood.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned this. What is the significance that Trump's first meeting with a foreign leader is Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu?
I think it's a sign of how much Trump is invested in the Middle East. He really, he showed it in his last administration. He brokered the Abraham Accords. He wants the Nobel Peace Prize. He wants to get a deal coming out of this.
Thank you very much for your input today.
Thank you.